I'm like, anytime now. I think it says we're live, so let me just make sure.
Yeah, it shows that we're live.
It does, right?
And I, of course, have your channel with the bell icon. So.
Oh, we love to see it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, it shows that we're live. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hi, Val. Welcome. That was so quick. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the April live show for the Crusty Club. Today, we're going to be talking about Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. But before we get into talking about this, and before the co-hosts introduce themselves, I'm just going to go ahead and announce the next two book club picks for the book club. In May this month, we are reading Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. And this is a novel about a Chinese American family living in the 1970s in a small town, and they find their daughter's dead body in a local lake. And the family then, has to reflect on what it means to be Chinese Americans and immigrants living in the 1970s. So that's what this book is about. And then in June, we are reading Loveless by Alice Oseman. And this is a new adult coming of age story that follows our main character who has never had a crush, never fallen in love. And she starts university with the plan to get some romance experience, go on dates, find the person for her. But then she discovers terms like asexuality and aromantic, which opens her to a new world of understanding and discovering who she really is. I'm really excited for this one. I've heard good things, so I'm excited to get into it. And yeah, like I said, we're going to be having these two picks for this month and then June. And now that I've announced those, I'm going to go ahead and let the co-hosts introduce themselves, and they are also going to tell you a little bit about the content they make. In case you like any of the content they make, you can go and check out their YouTube, their Instagram, all the things that they do. So you guys can go ahead. Anyone can go first. I knew Kay's like, I have to be serious. I have to be serious. I saw your face. I was like, I feel like a teacher. Like when your teacher's giving a presentation and you're like, okay. Kay's going second. So, Kay, you can go first.
I'm Kay. I'm from ilovebooksokae. I have a hot mess of a Twitter and a relatively okay Instagram account if you want to see me there. I might come back to YouTube one day, but who knows?
Love that.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Lumatulong ba? My name is Kim, and I am Hopi from the village of Tewa. I'm South Tewa Tobacco Clan, and my book channel is Native Lady Book Warrior. I also have an Instagram. Mostly, I'm just there to support other book reviewers and just kind of see what's out there in terms of books, and also obviously supporting the Indigenous book community because they're completely amazing. And then also I was more active on Twitter, but I think now I kind of use it more as just to see what's going on, not only in the bookish world, but also when it comes to Indigenous issues. And yeah, so that's me. And mostly I read Indigenous lit, Indigenous authored lit. And then I was gonna say that Kay, I was like, Kay, you forgot to.
Yeah, I was like, Kay,
you told me to go first. I blame. I couldn't pick anyone.
Yeah, but I'm in Arizona and I'm on the Hopi Res, so the Hopi Reservation. So yeah, Kay, you can go ahead and introduce yourself again.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm Simshian. I come from Lac-Williams, which is northern BC, but I currently live on unceded Musqueam lands, which is the general Vancouver area in British Columbia. And I mainly read fantasy.
So I am RC from the YouTube channel / also Twitter account, because I changed my name on pretty much everything to Books from a Bye Guy. I have been in the community for like a few years, so like I primarily use Twitter and YouTube. I occasionally use TikTok, although I closed my DMs because I got a creepy DM and it was not fun. So I primarily just use YouTube and Twitter. I read mostly young adult because it's also what I write. So I try to always keep myself updated on what I am attempting to write by also reading the same stuff in there. But I have more of an interest in like fantasy / graphic novels.
Cool. All right. So that was the introduction. And I highly recommend, if you haven't checked out any of their content, you definitely need to, because I love watching what they're all reading all the time. And I get all my recommendations, especially fantasy-wise, from Kay. I'm always like, what should I read next? So you should definitely check out everyone's channel. Their things are going to be linked in the description, so make sure you check that out. Now we're going to get into talking about Black Sun, and RC is going to give us a quick little short summary about the book. And while RC is doing that, go ahead and leave a sun emoji in the comments if you finish the book, so I can just give a little feel of how early we can get into spoilers.
All right, so
myself.
You want me to do no spoilers, right?
No spoilers, just like a general summary, as if you were pitching the book to someone who you wanted to read it.
Okay. Not book pitching. I'm a writer, Chanel. I'm not good at that. So, Black Sun, you have 4 point of views, and depending on who you ask, one of them's really boring. I think a different one is really boring, but you have 4 different characters. You have Serapio, who is basically the MVP of the story, and is basically, how to say, the mythology, I feel, of the book. You have Jala, who is my favorite Bicon, and who is probably like the funnest point of view in this, and she is very messy. And I really enjoy that about her. You have Narampa, who is someone heavily dealing with trying to reform her political structure that she's in, the religion that she's in, and unfortunately the people involved in that are not really game for that. And then you have Akoa, who is in the story.
How did I know you were gonna do that?
Oh my god. I had no idea what you thought about that character, so that was...
He's present. He is in the book.
RC's like, he's a person.
You see his shadow.
I love that. I feel like that was the perfect person to give us a summary. So if you haven't read Black Sun, there you go. There's a summary for you. Hope you check it out and enjoy it. All right. So let's get into our general thoughts and ratings. Everyone, you can go ahead and put your ratings as well. I can see a lot of people have read it. There are a few people that haven't. And we see some stands for Shiala. We love to see it. We see some stands for Kay. We also love to see it. I guess RC's description works.
It's definitely the Akoa bit that sold everyone.
Great summary. 10 out of 10.
I would also mention that, like, there's a crow god making a sea journey to the holy city that Narampa's in.
Mm-hmm. So you got like a little bit of a journey vibe. So if you really love journey stories, you're going to really like Black Sun. But yeah, so I see people commenting their ratings. Do you guys want to share your ratings in any order? Who wants to go first? Not Kay.
I can go first because, as Chanel knows, I don't rate books anymore. So I don't really have a rating for this, even though I technically, arguably do. But my general thoughts, my general thoughts are so I might be a little biased because I got like an arc of this, and of course I broke the spine on that. But I got an arc of it, and I got to read it before like a lot of different people, and I vibed a lot with the story, especially with my personal favorite, which is a very underrated opinion with many people, Narampa, who I loved a lot. I enjoyed the book heavily. Even Okoa, who is in the story, I really enjoyed the book. I like the world building. I like the characterization. I really like the non-chronological aspect, the narrative, and how it unfolds, especially since it kind of brings in this question of like, it'll give you some information that none of the characters know yet, but then you yourself have to wonder, well, when is this going to come into the story? What is this going to mean? And as someone who also enjoys thrillers, I really enjoyed that aspect. So I vibed hardcore with it.
I gave it, or like I rounded up to 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think like technically it's a 3.75 because sometimes I felt like the writing needed a little bit, it needed to be reworked a little bit, and like the threads of how things were going, I felt could have been revised just a little bit, but otherwise I, as well as RC, got it as an arc, and I was obsessed with it, and I was like, this is so much fun. And like I always love getting the backstories behind potentially evil people. And so it was just great to see that. And like the bath scene was just, because I was like, it's evil incarnate, but it's so great.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to be candid here. And I unfortunately had some circumstances and I wasn't able to finish the book. I'm like almost there, but so I don't mind spoilers at all, everyone. It's totally fine because I'm going to read it and like as soon as I jump off this, but and also Chanel was able to share with me how it ended and I was like, oh, okay. So, but as for myself, I'm also like maybe at a 4, close to maybe 4.5. And I think it's just because of the very, very, very awesome. So I look at things from like an Indigenous perspective, and I actually saw. When I looked at the back to see where she was inspired from, and I saw some of the cultures were derived from different areas, right? But also I saw Choco Canyon. So like I saw some even little tiny pieces of my own culture reflected in some of this writing. And with that being not the Hopi culture, but our ancestors, the Hitzatzinam. So it was really awesome. And I was just like, whoa. So there were things that I would catch that even some of the language. So I don't know if she made it up or if she was inspired by some of the language in here, but I would see some of my own language within like bits and pieces on the pages. The characters were just incredible. And but like Kay said, sometimes the writing would, I don't know the appropriate term because I'm not like an English major or anything. But
oh my god. Okay, I always say that. I'm like, I'm not an English major.
I think there was times where I was like, wait, I wouldn't get lost, but I did enjoy like what RC said, like how the book is jumping around, but you're not completely lost in a lot of things. To see a fantasy like this written by an Indigenous author, like I just think about all the other authors out there and how maybe their cultures or maybe even how it could inspire them to write similar fantasies. And so I thought that was pretty genius of Rebecca Roanhorse. And so not speaking from a like how lit is structured or anything, but just like the overall inspiration that inspired her to create this amazing fantasy, or in my opinion. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna be quiet now.
No, that was really good because honestly, so I read the book and I at first was like, I'm not sure. I have no idea what I think. I know I didn't really like Narampa's point of view and I was kind of bored. But of her storyline, RC salty. But
I'm not salty, I'm heartbroken. I am heartbroken.
I was like, I don't enjoy her point of view. But when I went back and I looked at a lot of my overall rating is a 3-star, and that's because it was really hard for me with the way the book was structured was difficult sometimes, like the writing style. And typically when I read books, I really care about the plot. So if I feel like I can figure out exactly what's going to happen, it's going to take me out of the story, especially in a fantasy. But one of my favorite parts about this book was the aspect, because being a Nigerian, I also think about, bye Kim. Like I was saying, I also think about tribes and how tribes are represented in books. I always think about how it's so interesting that you could have little things that are different, between different tribes or between different groups, and you wouldn't even notice or realize unless you were someone who came from some sort of tribal heritage. So that's like one of my favorite parts about this book. And I really loved Chiala and Serapia. Like Chiala was like the best. She was like the most fun to read about. She was so messy. I was here for it. I was like, every single moment of her point of view, I was gasping. I was like, girl, you didn't just do that. Like you didn't just say that. You did not. And I think, like, especially this comment that Leah just left, I think a book centered around her would be so interesting, especially her culture. Like, I really, really love that aspect. But for me, what really made it a 3-star was the fact that, like, the plot was just the way it was, the writing style. But I enjoyed it. But those are the things. I was like, Serapio and Chiala are not the entirety of this book. So we're going to settle on a 3-star. Those are my general thoughts. Without spoilers. While we wait to see if Kim will be able to rejoin, let's go ahead and see what other people think. I'm seeing a lot of 5 stars. We love to see that, and 4 stars. And then I think I saw a comment from Miss Booked and Busy about the writing. And I think, yes, sort of, because I understand the point of view of Narampa's POV being important because she was trying to change a lot of things that she wasn't able to change. But something about the way she was written that I was just like, I see.
Naive.
Yeah, like it's like, that TikTok where it's like the right idea, but the wrong, like that's exactly how I felt reading her point of view. I was like, this is the right idea. But like, it's hard for me to believe that she is like the sun priest, even though she was tossed into that position, which we don't really get that much of a backstory on, aside from like she was tossed into the position. So I wonder if that's going to be further expanded on in the second book. You know what I mean? Yeah, the book feels very much like a prologue, a preface, whatever the correct term is. Not an English major. So whatever the correct term. And I feel like an entire book being set up like that can lose a lot of people, especially because the first part of the book, like the prologue, the very first chapter, was so like, wow. Like I read that and I was like, wow. And then I get into the rest of the book and I was like, what's going on? So yeah, that's generally what I thought. Yeah. Aaron definitely has a lot of really good, interesting things to say about Black Sun as well. Yeah, same. I would read a whole book just about her. Literally, I would pick that up so quick. So quick. Be like, yes, give it to us. I think also like Rebecca's writing, I think is very easy to read. So that's part of the reason why I didn't struggle that much, because it was really easy to read and it was very interesting to see all the different pieces and then to see the little, descriptions that we get at the beginning of the chapters. Those were cool. All right. So next question. Oh, Kim's back. Hello.
I don't know what happened. I was like, I can't hear anyone. What is going on? And then I don't know what my daughter, she was using my laptop. And then now she's done. So I was like yelling around the house, like, what is going on? Yeah. It was, oh my gosh.
You came back pretty quick though, because that was like lightning speed. It's like, bye, Kim.
Oh my goodness. I swear,
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with this weekend. But anyway.
Ooh, a comic for this would be so interesting. Like getting to visually see everything. I think that would be interesting. Okay. All right. So, next question. You came on time. What are your top 3 like fantasy books or fantasy tropes? Like, what do you guys typically really love in fantasy books? And then do you feel like Black Sun kind of gave you that, or did it not give you that?
Everybody's like,
I can go first. I think I really enjoy like revenge in books. Like a character who's like, I'm upset because this person did this to me, or they did this to the people I love, and I'm gonna tear everything down. Love that. I also really like the like enemies to friends stories in fantasy books, like where they get to just, oh, we're friends. But I feel like a lot of times we don't really get that.
Mhm.
So like enemies to friends, I really enjoy that too. And I also, what's another one I like? I guess it's be fantasy tropes or fantasy books. So my last one, I would just say everything that was in A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. There you go. Everything in that. So maybe we should just do fantasy books. I feel like that's easier. You guys in the comments can also let me know your favorite fantasy books. Let's do books.
well, I just recently, I think it was a month ago. I haven't been reading fantasy lately. I've been reading a lot of like either sci-fi or just Indigenous fiction. But I really like David Mogul Godhunter. I thought that was just so freaking completely amazing to have something that isn't like colonial Western fantasy. So I thought that was just so amazing to read something that is, and I'm kind of very, I don't like to say, oh, it's mythic, it was this, because it's very much a part of a culture that still exists and people still practice.
Ooh,
so
I have seen this book.
Yeah, I thought that was so amazing. So I can't wait I know people have been saying they've got Son of Storm. Is that the new David Akamboa book?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I got to get my hands on that. So that's like a new book that he's written that's come out. And I agree with you, Chanel. Like, I think when you have not only like revenge plot or some kind of justice theme that is beyond something bigger, but also definitely redemption arcs. I feel like I really enjoy those, but also I feel like I really enjoy storytelling elements where you get into like the origins of a people, or to see how how the stories of a people or histories of a people creates their culture and their societies. And then when you see those things, you kind of get to see the layers of society, right? Whether if it's oppression or privilege. That was very much in this story that I liked as well. So, but I know that's why I was like, I couldn't wait to hear what you guys thought, because I know you guys all love fantasy. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear what you guys. So I was kind of excited just to hear what you guys thought about, like, and what your favorite fantasy reads too.
I just Googled the book that you were talking about, and I realized that the author is Nigerian. So I will be picking that up ASAP. It might even be a book club pick. Who knows? I'm like, every time I see a Nigerian author, I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm reading it immediately. Ooh, Poppy War.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the
Grace
Poppy
King.
War.
Not Biv. Not Biv.
I think these are like
Underrated.
my top 3 at the
Ooh.
moment.
What is the Grace of Kings about?
So the Grace of Kings is like based on real history, kind of like the Poppy War. And it takes place in China when there's like a swap from the Han Dynasty to the Ming Dynasty, I think. And it's basically the story of these 2 guys who are fighting against the current emperor and attempting to reunify the country and bring everyone underneath their own leadership. And so it's very political focused, but it's also very interesting because there is like sexism and homophobia, but one of the main characters is very like, why are you saying that? But like, what do you mean women can't do this? And then like he has women generals leading his armies, and I'm like, this is so badass to see. And like there's a whole bunch of poetry and stuff that it's actually based off of, and it's just really great. I love it.
We love to see it.
Yes.
Chef's kiss.
And then
RC,
everyone
what
knows
about you?
Poppy War is, but We Free the Stars is the second book in the duology by Hafsa Faisal. It's got like the really badass fighting against the regime that it's bigger than the main character, and like so much shit. I don't know how many people die, but people are dying.
Oh, wow.
Or people think.
No holding back.
And it's like, whoa, Jesus.
Those are definitely going to be on my list. RC, what about you? What are your top 3 fantasy books?
So I'll go with like my top 2.
Okay.
And the first one that I would want to talk about is it's on my shelf, so I'm not going to grab them. But A Blade So.
Oh, I was like, is it me? RC, you cut out a little bit.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, now you're back.
Not me being gone. So one of my favorite fantasy books, and it's an urban fantasy, is A Blade So Black by Ella McKinney. It is, I believe, a quartet currently. Like only 2 books are out so far, but it's this series about this messy bi character with all of these like different themes of adolescence, growing up. There's portal fantasy, and something that I really love about that book is that I grew up watching Buffy, but as much as I loved Buffy, I always kept asking myself, I was like, how are all these white kids getting away with doing all these things and no parents are like around being like, why aren't you at home? Like, it's 7:00. Why are you still at school? Like all these things. And A Blade So Black has this really great aspect to it where obviously because it's a Black main character, it's a Black mom. And as someone who had a Indigenous dad, like I remember how strict things could be, and like trying to navigate, like seeing her trying to navigate like monster hunting and protecting people and trying to save the world while also trying not to get in trouble with a strict parent or being home by a certain time. Like it was so fascinating, and I loved that aspect of it. It's very strong on that, and I just really appreciated that a lot. And then my second favorite fantasy would probably be The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, and who is also a Afro-Indigenous author, just like Rebecca Roanhorse. They are probably like, I mean, I've only read one Rebecca book, but like they're probably like some of my favorite fantasy authors just because I do love the way that they world build. I love the way that they have like these really interesting formats in their books. Like in The Fifth Season, N.K. Jemisin regularly changes from like a first-person point of view to a third-person point of view. And it's all these like different non-chronological aspects to it. And you never really know if things that are going on in it are happening at the same time. There's a pattern here in what I enjoy in books.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, based off of what everyone has said, there are like tiny elements in this book that kind of fulfill what all of us have said. So that's like really interesting to see, because my next question is using what we just talked about based off of like what we enjoy in books. Let's talk about the characters. Who is your favorite? We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but let's share a brief reason why whoever your favorite was your favorite. And I can go first. I'm like, shy crowd, tough crowd, tough crowd. I'm just kidding. My favorite was Shiala because she is messy and she's not afraid to speak her mind. That's it.
I really liked Serapio because I like those kind of characters.
Mm-hmm.
The tortured soul. You don't know if they're good or evil.
Mm-hmm. Like morally gray type of element.
I was trying to speak with my mind. I'm just kidding. I was on mute. Okay, so I really enjoyed Serapio too, like not only just as a character, but his perspective. I think with his character, there's a lot of world building, and not only that, but even though his character, it seemed like he was secluded, right? But I think his knowledge of like those societies were a little bit larger. And then also, even though he seemed more open to understanding others, and like even when I think just like how he made I can't remember, is it Zyla? Is that how you say it?
I think I looked up how to pronounce her name and it says like Shiala. Like
Shiala? Okay.
Like yeah.
Yeah, it's like a okay. Yeah, so she, even when he knew what she was and he wasn't like, oh my god, get away from me, he wasn't scared. I think just seeing but their two characters was just completely amazing, but Serapio was just something that was just whoa. So like Kay said too, like that tortured soul, not really kind of but also seeing him develop throughout the story just by kind of jumping around and jumping back and forth.
I think I also like Serapio because he's disabled and blind, and like he sees through crows. How fucking cool!
Serapio's character is just so like, I know I said Shiala, love her, love my messy queen, but Serapio, I feel like that it would be such a like if you could, let's pretend get a coffee with Serapio and just ask him questions all day. I feel like that would be like a 5-hour long discussion. But RC, what about you? Let's talk about Narampa.
So I went into this book expecting Shala to be my favorite character, and arguably she is tied with Narampa for me. I really like the fact that, like you said, she's messy. I hugely enjoy that. Like, as soon as we got introduced to her and she's just like chilling in jail, I was like, all right, where are we going from here? Like, how did we even get here?
Honestly, no, but her point of view, like when we enter her point of view, it reminded me of those videos where someone's like, I bet you wonder how I got here. That's exactly what that was. Sorry, go on.
I really enjoyed her as a character, and especially because I knew going into the story that she was queer. Like, I was super hyped for that, especially after finding out that she's bi. I was like, wait, I'm bi, I'm Indigenous, tell me more, where are we going from here? But
she's a very passionate character, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
That being said, Narampa just, I don't know, like, Narampa just works for me. I really, and this goes in a lot of fantasies, I love the stories where it's someone who's basically a fish out of water and is really not qualified to be doing what they're doing at all, is kind of thrown into, like, this political game. And Narampa is very much someone I feel that the people who put her in power were expecting her to be someone that she could, like, they could just easily manipulate, that she was just going to be kind of more just like an icon than anything else, especially with how they've been scaling back her power with what she, like, the title used to hold. But I loved seeing how she was navigating that, how she was trying to outdo other people, and occasionally she would outsmart people and make them really mad, but then also seeing how other people were then outsmarting her, because again, like this, she's not qualified to be doing any of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just in case people were not sure, because I'm not sure if I said that earlier, but we are definitely heading into a spoiler zone, and we've already kind of been there. So, yeah, that's definitely really interesting because I didn't even get that vibe of why someone would like Narapa until I was like, RC, like Narapa. You are literally the only person I know, like, that I can think of that really liked her character. So that's really interesting. Not even Narapa outsmart. Erin is always choosing violence. Like, she's always going to people's throats. Okay. Next questions. What were your like favorite scenes or moments in the book? The ones that like while you're reading it, you're like, okay, if I forget everything else in this book, I will remember the scene so clearly.
Ooh.
I think for me, the things that I remember like the most vividly is Serapio's origin story. Like everything involving that, like the way that he becomes as strong as he does and how he has to learn, but also just looking at how very tragic and sad it is, especially since when all of it like really starts, Serapio's like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that was shocking. But go on, Kim. That's all I had to say.
I mean, definitely the element. And they weren't expected. I mean, some of those things were just like, what? Like, I mean, Rebecca Roanhorse doesn't tell you already put all of their powers or anything out there. It's just kind of like, whoa. So I think a lot of those elements were very surprising, and you're just like, yeah, like you're just feeding it and being all gluttonous. But also I liked how a lot of books that I've read, they tell you how oppressive cultures are, right? Or they say, oh yeah, where this happens. But with Roanhorse, I feel like in the book, she shows you how that oppression and how those strata or that hierarchy is very embedded in the culture. So I like that too. So I feel like the culture elements of the book, and then the world building was completely amazing, but also just the fantasy elements aren't given to you. They're just thrown at you, like almost as if you're there experiencing them for the first time, because I mean, you're not going to be in somebody's head to say, yeah, like I know they have powers, right? So it's kind of like you're there first person experiencing everything. But I think, wow, just seeing like those crows peck and eat everybody and just tear everybody to shreds, I think that stayed with me, because I was like, whoa, yeah, this just got next level. So I thought that was kind of crazy. So
yeah. I don't know if Kay has shared theirs yet, but I'm going to go ahead really quick because I think they just went on mute. But I think one of the scenes that really shook me up was the scene where Serapio was with one of his mentors, and he like starts fighting her. And then she's like, you almost took out my eye. You almost killed me. And he's like, I didn't succeed. And she's like, what? And I think that just like showcases, because he was trying to protect his things, right? And I think that a lot of people might not immediately at the beginning of the story realize that Serapio is the villain of the story. Like, he's the person who's supposed to be like the evil person in the story. But I feel like in this moment you really see his innocence and his like, not childlikeness, but you really see his need and desire to protect the little that he has for himself, because he turned so violent to protect his things. And then the moment goes from this like really intense moment where you're like, oh my gosh, is she gonna die? Is she gonna die? To be like, You know what I mean? And he's like, I didn't succeed. And she's like, are you kidding me? That was my eye, you know? So that was like my favorite scene. And it will probably stick with me forever because there's so much complexity in that little scene.
Mhm.
But yeah.
I think my favorite scene is like the honey scene and then the bath scene because there's so many emotions that lead up to it between Giala and Serapia. And like it's so short, but I feel like it just is truly the calm before the storm because Giala finally puts like the pieces together and she's like, wait a minute, he's gonna be leaving.
Yeah.
In what way?
Yeah.
And then like she's running out of the bathhouse trying to find him and he's like off doing his business. And I just feel so bad because I'm like, I want Giala to know that he's okay.
Yeah. It was definitely like really sad because the moment when it clicks for her that him doing what he needs to do means he's no longer going to exist, I was like, girl, like I feel so bad.
I was going through it with her.
It was a sad moment. I was like, I do not want to be you right now. Like imagine finding someone who like accepts you. You're like kind of feeling a little thankful for this boy. And then he's like,
I gotta go die.
Yeah, right? Like what? It made me so sad. It really made me so sad.
Yeah, I don't want to say that they were equals in a way, but I think they both exist in a world where people fear them. And to find someone who understands that and to accept it for what it is, but also to realize like, hey, this person may not only have experienced real violence, but they may have also used it as well. So I think to kind of have them be both at par with that, but then also like what Kay was saying is just like feeling your heart break inside your in my brain. I was like, oh gosh, but at the same time I'm kind of okay, so I used to be that person, that awful person, and I'm admitting this to you guys. You can don't tell anybody. No, I'm just kidding. But
don't tell anybody on the line.
I would read so I would read the last chapter before I would buy a book.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So but now I think I've been kind of like, all right, well, this is a series. So is he really going to die? You know what I mean? So there's parts of me that was kind of, I mean, I do like it when authors do kill off main characters and you're just kind of like, oh yeah, there's some, I mean, for me, there's some a little bit of satisfaction in that. But I mean, I don't do that anymore. I don't read the last chapter, but just kind of letting my mind go all these different routes to just be like, he has to be in the next book, right? I mean, like, come on. Oh, Kim, no. I know. Sorry, everyone. But I mean, even I'm like that with movies too. So like if I didn't see a movie in theater, I would go on a spoiler site and be reading the whole thing. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I should watch this. So I'm pretty bad when it comes to stuff.
Thank you,
like
Kim.
That.
No, I mean like people
Thank you.
People do that, especially because I think so that's a really good point, Kim, because when I first saw Black Sun and I heard about the guy who's on this mission, he has to like basically kill someone else and then he dies. So at the end of the story, we're supposed to see both Serapia and Narampa die. They're both supposed to no longer be there. And I was like, there is no way if this book follows 3 people, because at the time the description makes it seem like it's only 3 people, I think, that we're going to be following, but it's actually 4. But I was like, there's no way we're going to enter book 2 with 1 character. So something's going to happen where everybody survives. So I already knew, and I think that's part of the reason why I wasn't that surprised. Like I was waiting for like a giant plot twist to happen, but it didn't come because I already knew that everybody was going to survive. You know what I mean? So I was like, where's the it just wasn't there. So I understand what you mean about like the satisfaction of when something's supposed to happen and then it doesn't happen and you're like, well, I kind of saw it coming, but this is still good, but like, what do I think? You know?
I just want to see the aftermath at this point. Like, I need to know.
Yeah, that's what I'm most curious about.
Okay, so before you invited me in on this discussion, I actually wasn't gonna read this book because there's so many book reviews where I read like, oh, heartbreaking, when is the next book coming out? So I was actually gonna read it when the next book came out. Because I don't know, that's just me. There has been some series plot twist where there's no plot twist.
Exactly.
But I just feel like sometimes, I mean, before, I think I used to be just strictly a fantasy reader or dystopian, and I would wait like years for books to come out, and then after a while, I was just like, okay, when you start buying books, before I discovered Libby, and you realize like my pocket used to be fat, but now I can feel my leg while I touch it. There's no barrier between there anymore. So yeah, but I mean, I can't wait to read the next book.
No, you're so right, because there's been some books that whenever I see that they're like super, super hyped, especially fantasy books, and I always talk about this, how like I really like duologies and trilogies, because after 3 books we're done. Like if I'm here after 5 books and there's no like ending in sight, I gotta go. I do not like. I need to read 2 or 3 books and be like, oh, that was so satisfying. Unless there's like certain cases where I haven't had to do that, and those are the cases where the whole series is finished and the author's like, I will never pick up the series again, and I'm like, thank you, because I want to read it and be done.
I didn't start reading An Ember in the Ashes until A Sky Beyond the Storm came out, because I was like, I'm not doing this to myself. Absolutely not.
Especially when you see people crying about like Ninth House. I haven't read it, but I've been seeing people crying and being like, when is the second book coming out? It's been 2 years. I'm like, I do not want to be you right now at all. So that's really interesting. Okay, so what do you feel like you didn't enjoy or you wish had been done better? I know we kind of touched on this when we talked about like the writing style and, you know, the little pieces where me and Kim are like, we're not English majors, so don't drag us. But outside of the writing, is there anything that you feel like would have made this book more enjoyable or a better reading experience for you or a better story? And everyone in the comments to share those. I know you guys have kind of been talking about them, but share them again.
I feel like I might have reworked Narampa's bits because I feel like the pieces were there for me to enjoy her. It's just the way it was executed. It's like it kept interrupting Ziala and Serapio, and I was like, I'm gonna meet someone. So I feel like if it was not like if Narampa's parts weren't as big in between the sections, then I might have had a more interesting time, and I would have been like, okay, what is she trying to do? Who is fucking her over? And but like the way it was, I was like, let me just get back to my main couple.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments.
Yeah, these are like funny because I actually read it both physically and on audio, and I definitely think that if you are only reading this as an audiobook, you might be very confused because of the way the POV switch, because I don't think the chapters even say like chapters don't say like chapter 10 Narampa. Like you just have to figure it out as you're reading, so it can be kind of confusing when there's like 50 pages of Narampa and then like 10 pages for both Shiala and Serapia and the fourth person I always forget, Akoa, like for all of them. Maybe RC was right that Akoa is there.
We were even talking about this before the show started. She was like, what was his name again? And I was like, I agree with Chanel. Like,
I'm muting RC.
Not that he wasn't an interesting character. I was like, where's he at? So I was kind of like prepping myself for the next chapter, and I was thinking I was going to hear from him because I want to hear more about this war college, right? And I was hoping it would go into that, especially when they talked about Narampa's, what if she went into this room or something and it had murals on the wall of
I know what you're talking about.
kind of hoping they would go into the war college more. But then when they go back to him, he's leaving. Man. But I think when Narampa, I like how it started, right? Where she's from. And I kind of maybe wish, you know how Serapo's perspective, it's jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they did that with her perspective.
Same.
They did at the beginning, and then it never went back after that.
I feel like, yeah, that's a good point, Kim, because I think I would have liked Narampa a lot more if we had got her backstory, because I was very interested in why she was the sun priest. Like, why?
And her brother.
Exactly. What happened to her brother? Like, those pieces. And then I also think, like, another thing, too, was Okoa. Like, I really wish he had been woven into the story more consistently and more seamlessly, because once we start like really getting to know him, it's really obvious that he's gonna be part of the very end. Like for me personally, it was really, really obvious that this is probably gonna be the person that we're gonna be following a lot of in the second book. And I felt like it just felt really abrupt. And just like, oh, Arcee's like, absolutely not. But you could feel it. You could feel, especially with the way the book ended, that Okoa is going to be a big part of the story.
Don't do that to me.
Like, I don't know. That's my prediction. Hopefully I'm wrong for your sake. But the way at the end he swooped Serapio up and was like, anyways, let's get on this.
I got you, boo.
Right. Like, there's no way he's not going to be a major part unless Serapio is going to be tossed to the side, which I highly doubt. So
I was hoping more from Okoa, because he's that link between what Serapio doesn't know what has been happening with the Crow clans, and I think he would bring him up to speed. Like, this is where we were, or this is what you've been told. Especially with the, what is it called, the Knight of Knives?
The Knight of Knives.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for that, the explanation of that to drop. So I'm guessing that's probably going to be in the next book, because between Okoa and Serapio, for him to catch him up, right? And I don't know if I should, you know what? I don't know if I should tell you guys what his mother, well, in my language, what his mother's name means, but it could just be something. Yeah, so in my language, I know what his mother's name means, but I'm like, should I say it? Or maybe it's just a name she made up, but...
Is it the one who died?
Yeah.
Can you can DM it to me?
Okay.
I want to know.
Yeah. No, that's definitely another really good point, because I think if you are somebody who is native, you're probably going to understand this a little bit differently than people. Well, based off of what Kim just said, maybe like the names.
Like, my northern ass? No way.
Well, maybe if your language is the one used, then you're probably maybe going to understand it a little bit differently. Because I know that when I read books that people from my tribe, like their names are in those books, I'm immediately like, I know what your name means, and that was a choice. Like, I'm like,
yeah, and I don't know if Rebecca Roanhorse did use this language, but I didn't have a chance to go run to my grandma to ask, like, what does this mean? But there's some names in this book that mean love. There's some names that mean, I don't know. So, because there's different dialects in the language that I know. So I was like, I wonder if it means that. So it was even just the way I would say it in my head. Like, the name, was it Powoge or whatever? Is that how you say? Wait, let me look at the cast of characters. Like, that even the way I say some of these names, like, where is it? Like, oh yeah, like, let's see. Like, it says Pade, like me, yeah. And then that says Powage, or but I would pronounce it like Boage. Or saya pa de eding, like. So I was like, I wonder if these really mean what I think they mean, or if she just kind of made them up. So I was kind of like, but I'll just be quiet because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. So
no, that's really an interesting thing you bring up, Kim. So hopefully when you ask you get the answer that might help you. I don't know where I was going with that. But I love that you brought that up because names are definitely a very important part of culture, and I like to see them in books. So we love to see that. Okay, what for like one of our final questions is what did you think? Like, what are your theories for book 2? Like, I've already said a theory that I have, but does anyone have any theories that they have for the next book?
Go ahead, RC. I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, I'm so curious to hear what RC thinks is going to happen, especially with Navampa.
There's a few things that I've been kind of toying around with in my head. I think the next book is supposed to have two point of views. Two more point of views. And I don't think that it's been revealed who they are yet, but I'm like 90% convinced that one of them is going to be Narampa's brother.
Oh, yeah.
I hope so.
For sure. I can see that happening.
I am 100% though convinced that I don't know like when it's going to happen in the series, but I do think at some point Serapio and Narampa are going to meet, but I don't think it's going to be in any sort of confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's arguably, if it's even still Serapio, like it could be Crow Zaddy, it could be him, it could be a mixture of both. What?
Crow what?
Crow what?
Zaddy.
Anyway,
so like I think that they're going to have some sort of meeting, but I don't think that there's going to be any sort of like, especially with how this book ends, I cannot see that happening because it would feel kind of like a repeat. And I feel like that's just like not the direction we're going to go in. And I think also because I listened to like a few things that Rebecca Roanhorse talked on, and one of the like biggest things about the book is that there's not really like good or evil in the story. It's just a bunch of people doing things that they think is best for their people or for them or for the world. So it's just depending on what their like view is. So it's not going to be like a good versus evil conflict or anything like that. And because of that, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more like muddying in what the characters do. But one thing that I am kind of expecting is I think that at some point, and I kind of hope this doesn't happen, because I feel like it's kind of very, not cliche, but tropey. Jaela is going to re-kill Serapio. Like, as like a final thing in the series. Like, I feel like if anyone takes down Serapio, it's gonna have to be her. If we reach that point.
That's interesting. I understand why you would say that. Especially after Kim said that they're both like sort of on an equal like balance. So yeah. Okay.
I don't really have any thoughts. I am just there for the ride. I am hoping for some sort of throuple between Ziala, Serapio, and the girl that Ziala fell into after Serapio left.
You're like, either way.
I think for me, I'm just kind of like a lot like same as Kate. I just want to, I don't even think I want to read the leaf on the next book. I just kind of want to go into it and just, but I'm hoping for, you know, how they have these same, the kind of like the little quotes before the chapter starts.
Yeah.
I want to see what's written about the Knight of Knives from the different perspectives of each nation. So what they think happened during that time and why. So I feel like there's a lot of like backstories that I really want to find out of not the characters, but the nations themselves, especially to like how that priest society got to where it's at. I feel like when it comes to religion or culture transforming in a way where it's no longer serving society, but serving only a select few, and to see the stories and why and who's benefiting from those types of power. I think also I kind of want to see the relationship develop between was it almost said Crow Rider
Okoa.
Oh my god!
sorry.
Can you
Okoa
imagine
and
if you were Okoa watching this right now?
I know. I just so bad. I kept pronouncing his name differently in my head, like he had more than like 2 syllables, but I don't know. But I think I would want to know more about what has been happening for people who have been suffering, right? Because you see that, I mean, the priest society has to know what has happened, for example, to Narahampa's brother, right? Things that is happening and that are, and of course, when things like that happen, like nations allow it to happen. So, and it's only central to one district. So I kind of want digging around a little bit more, scraping up of that surface, and I can't wait. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be very interesting if we get Narampa's brother's point of view, because you can tell he's very like spiteful towards everything. So I feel like we're really going to get that background that Kim was talking about from him. But yeah, this has been like a very, very interesting discussion. And I really love hearing what everybody thought about the book. If you guys have any closing remarks, you can go ahead, or closing thoughts in the comments or from the co-host, you can go ahead and share them. I will share one quickly, is that I really loved all the little quotes. Kim talked about this a little bit, the little quotes and the little like lessons and sayings and people's notes, like Serapio's mom's notes. I really loved all of those at the beginning. I think those alone are their own stories. So I really liked that this was like a story in a story. If you just literally flip through and read those, you would get a whole different POV and a whole different storyline. So that's like my closing thought. Loved that aspect of the book.
Oh, what should I say? Just kidding.
Because like I have said everything I have to say.
I know. Well, I'm excited for your next club read. I actually have it on my phone right now for audio and the whatchamajiggy, but I don't know. I guess I'm just very honored to share this space with all of you, and I think I never like. I think I just had my booktube anniversary not that long ago, and I was just like my friends coming to me and they're just like, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube." And I was like, "Oh gosh, like no." But I think
literally me.
Yeah. So I guess to be invited to this space, especially Kay. I think when Kay first started, I was like, "Hi, Kay." I think because I would always go to her channel to like do her read with me stuff, and then I found RC. I can't remember the first video I saw of RC's, but I was like, "Oh, okay, awesome." And then Chanel. So I just think you guys are all doing really awesome, amazing like work, and I love your content. And if you guys ever want to be on my channel just to chat, even if we just do like what do you call it? Like a live read or just do some read-alongs or whatever. That would be awesome. So yeah. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing.
Oh, don't make me emotional. I'm a weakling. Oh. Okay. Well, since the others are quiet, I will go ahead and Icy, did you want to say anything?
I think
I can't believe you silenced me.
Was I silent or was I silenced?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I just wanted to say that I was really excited to be on this book club with Kim because we've discussed some of Rebecca Roanhorse's works in the past, and I was excited to have. It's kind of hard to say its own voices for this novel, but it's kind of close to an own voice review and like thoughts on it, and I really appreciate your perspective and your friendship.
Guys, everyone in the comment, Kim is like one of the best people you'll ever meet. So, not me getting emotional. Having all her content and her Instagram, it's always a fun time. But I just want to thank all the co-hosts for you guys making the time to be here. and to read the book, even though you all loved it. And I'm so glad that everyone really enjoyed the book. And you guys will definitely see these faces again because we're in here for some wholesome times. But thank you to everyone for joining in the comments. To the co-hosts, make sure you check out their links in the comments. In the description. So you can subscribe to their stuff. And don't forget that we are reading these 2 books for May and June. And I'm working on the ones for the next few months. But yes, I will see you all for the May live show. Yes.
I forgot something.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't even know. So this is how new I am to Instagram, but I just realized I have over 1K on my Instagram account. I was like, how did this happen? But anyway, I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon. So if you guys, and you don't have to follow me on Instagram. You don't have to any of that, but I don't know if you all heard of the book Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully.
Yes, so I read that recently.
Yeah. So I'm going to be giving away 2 copies of that book along with Indigenous owned artists. What do you call it? I guess artistry. So I don't know, like prizes or whatever owned that were created by Indigenous businesses. So my IG is at Native Lady Book Warrior, and you just have to share the post and then you're already in the giveaway. So you don't have to follow me if you don't want to, but it's appreciated. So even you guys, like if you guys want to, I'll be releasing details on that soon. And so
I'm so excited for that book, and I'm so glad you're doing giveaway, guys. Just go to Kim's Instagram and follow her. Follow everybody. But yes, thank you again for joining here. We will see you, or I will see you, for the May live show. Goodbye.